Welcome to the section 4 of Writing for Publication Training, which is peer review process. Stages of peer review is the first topic of this section. Peer review is the process where an academic author's work is subjected to the examination of other experts in the same field as part of the journal publication process. Technically speaking, an editorial review is the first and third stage of review of manuscripts, and peer review is the second stage of this process. Steps in revision process is another topic in this section. There are 4 steps in the revision process. The first step is to understand the reviews and suggested revisions. In this step, it's necessary to read carefully the editor's and reviewers' comments and suggestions, as well as make a comprehensive list of all them. The second step is to revise the manuscript. Take the list of comments and suggestions and group them into categories, and then identify which require a minor revision and which require a major revision. Revise first the areas that are easiest to address, and then highlight in the paper any areas that will require a major revision and go back and revise them. The third step requires to check the revised paper before resubmission. Make sure all the reviewers' and editors' comments have been addressed before the paper is resubmitted. Then check the revised paper for formatting and proof it for writing errors. The final step is to construct a revision response. A detailed response that will be sent back with the revised paper indicating how all the suggested revisions have been addressed. In the publication process, editors usually welcome contact with authors as they appreciate clear and open communication from authors. Here is a message to a journal editor from a Chinese colleague who had submitted a paper. Relatively few authors choose to take this approach. There is no reason to not write to editors to ask about decisions and to ask for more information when necessary. Keep in mind that journal editors are usually busy, working academics who handle manuscripts in their spare time while also writing their own papers. As previously stated, the research articles are first evaluated by an editor in review process called editorial triage. It's just like in a hospital. Triage doctor assess the extent of your injuries and decide what follow-up treatment is needed. So you need to get past editorial triage. Following peer review, a letter will be sent to an author that invites resubmission with major and/or minor revisions. Responding to major revisions requires rethinking some areas of the paper. So, the most important thing to keep in mind at this stage is to convince both the journal editor and peer reviewers. Thus, create a response document that includes a summary of changes at the start so an editor can quickly and easily see what you have done to your article, and interleaves reviewer comments with your responses in a different color. Your response underneath each comment appears in red, for example. Minor revisions, on the other hand, can include many items within the paper that need to be revised, but typically not a major shift or addition to the paper. However, it's still hugely important to show the editor that the process is being taken seriously by addressing all minor comments comprehensively and try, if possible, to make all the changes to the paper that are asked. There are some issues to consider for minor revisions. The first thing is to adhere to the journal deadline. Publishing schedules are set months, if not years, in advance, and another thing is to do a careful final check. Ensure all your figures, tables, and supplementary files are ready for publication. Handling the comments from the journal reviewers is a critical next step in ensuring that your paper is reconsidered and has the best chance of being accepted. Here are some issues to consider while responding to reviewers. First of all, read the comments carefully and be sure that you understand them and why they have been raised. If you do not understand any comments, you should be specific about raising this in your own responses or write to the editor for further explanation. The second issue is to prepare a document of response. When writing your responses, be clear, concise, and use evidence to show your changes or reasons why you have dealt with the comments in a particular way. The third issue is to respond to every comment and suggested change one by one. Copy and paste each comment into a new document. Put your answer after each individual comment. Refer to text by line numbers where changes have been made. Clearly explain any suggestions you disagree with and why, and give evidence to show this. Another issue is to meet the deadline. Most journals have specific deadlines for receiving back revised submissions. Be sure that you make it. And finally, don't just submit the original version to another journal. It is possible that another journal will give a similar verdict and possibly even use the same reviewers. So use the feedback as an opportunity to revisit your paper before you decide what next step to take. What if reviewer comments disagree with each other? This is actually quite common. For example, reviewer 1 might state table 2 is superfluous, please remove, whereas reviewer 2 might state table 2 requires additional explanation on the dataset reported in column 3. Which do you go with? Use your judgment and be clear in the response why it is opt for removing data rather than adding to it. And what if the paper is still rejected? In such cases, decide whether you wish to appeal your case to the journal editor or move on and submit to another journal. There are a range of approaches to addressing reviewer comments appropriately. Here is the table presenting the best practical tips that will help you maximize your success in publishing. Another topic in this section is how to manage peer review process. This is the last part of this video presenting how to manage peer review process. Peer review is the cornerstone of academic publishing. The act of peer review itself means that an article is being considered for potential publication. Thus, when submitting to the big journals, where initial rejection rates can be up to 95%, the mere act of reaching the peer review stage can be a cause for celebration. Nevertheless, there are some considerations to deal with. Knowing about what to do when receiving reviewers' comments is one of them. When you do get comments back from a journal, show the editor you are taking this process seriously. To do this, create a response document that has a short summary at the top describing all the changes you made to your paper. Make sure to address all of the comments with a different color or font, even the really small ones. And be polite, address all comments to the editor and use phrases taking a careful look at the wording in your email back from the editor is another issue to manage. Editors usually do their best to speed up the peer review process, but the paper might have been delayed with a journal, so you have not heard back for a while. In this case, you can always write and ask about delays, but do it in a positive way and make suggestions for additional colleagues who might be suitable to act as reviewers. Having received the comments you don't agree with is also an important issue to deal with in the revision process. Very often, peer review comments or editorial comments will come back about your work that you simply don't agree with or think are just plain incorrect. In these cases, take a step back, wait for a few days, and then carefully construct a response that is measured and logical. If you can back up your statements with references and data, remain polite and address your concerns to the editor, and you are likely to win the argument and convince the journal that your paper can proceed without the need to make this particular change. Now, it's worth noting that please visit the relevant pages of the Writing for Publication training website to review how to deal with the journal rejection, what journal editors are looking for, and the questions are frequently asked in the peer review process. This is the end of the theoretical part in this section. Its practical part provides practice of getting involved in peer review process. I hope you found useful this video and thank you for watching.